Hi Brad, hi Logan. I'm your grandfather, Robert Despelder. I was born in Detroit in 1927, and I have an identical twin. And he died about in 1990, I believe. Was it 1990? Well, anyway, it was 4 years ago on my birthday. I graduated from Grosse Pointe High in 1945. I then went in the Navy Air Corps, and my brother and I went in together, and we had a lot of fun fooling the officers in the Navy because they couldn't tell us apart. They didn't know what to do. So I don't know if you want to hear any of those stories or not, do you? Well, one time, first it started out right away. We're in boot camp in Memphis, Tennessee, going through boot camp, and I was standing in line talking. You're not supposed to talk, so the guy told me to go to the end of the line, and I did. Then my brother was about 5 or 6 guys behind me, and when he came up the door, the guy wanted him to, he said, "I told you to go to the end of the line." And he said, "No, you didn't." And everybody's waiting for him. You know, he goes, "I just do it." He got an argument with him. You know, when he thought he had my brother, I just stepped out of line and said, "Here I am. You told me to go to the end of the line." And everybody laughed. It made him feel kind of silly. So we did a lot of that stuff with these guys. And, I can remember one time I drove Dick back from Bethesda National Naval Medical Center back to the base and stopped in front of the administration building. The guy told me to let Dick out, and the guy told me, this Marine told me to move on. You're not supposed to park there. I said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, I got to let him out of the car, and you know, he's got to get out of the car. I'm leaving, so I took off. I get to the guard gate, and the Marine said I had to go back. I said, "What for?" And he said, "They want to see you." So I go back there, and he takes me in before this lieutenant commander, and said, "You pulled up in front of the administration building here, and you stopped. You're not supposed to do that." Then you told the guy that you had to let somebody out. Then you sped away, but you told the guy you weren't stationed here. And this chief who knew my brother said, he said that I was stationed there. I said, "I'm not stationed here." He said, "Well, was he wrong?" I said, "I'm not stationed here." I let him go on and on and on, and finally I said, "Why don't you check your records? My name's Robert. My brother's stationed here, if that's what you mean." And then he checked it out, and then he had to apologize and let me go. And still a lot of things like that went on in the Navy. Then they wanted me to know if I wanted to join be a pilot. Dick and I took the test, and we passed the test for a pilot training. And then when I was ready to go, they told me I had to sign up for 5 years, and I didn't want to sign up for 5 years, so I didn't. The war was over, and I didn't want to go. I want to stay in the Navy that long, although maybe I should have been a pilot. I don't know, but I found out later that after 2 years, a couple of my friends had signed up. They canceled the program anyway, so it wouldn't have been a waste of time. But they didn't need any more pilots because the war was over. After the war ended, I came back to Michigan, and I went to Wayne University for a year and a half. Then my friend of mine was moving out to California. He wanted me, Bob Johnson wanted me to drive him with him to California. I said I would take the spring term off from school. So we took off in February, went to the Mardi Gras, had a great time at Mardi Gras, met this beautiful girl down there, and there's a lot of, funny, she went to school, she's from Texas, and she goes to school with a friend of mine from Grosse Pointe. I just found that out. I know we had a good time that Mardi Gras there on Tuesday, Fat Tuesday. We had to take them back to the bus at 11 o'clock. All these girls were sitting on the bus, and And we had a few drinks, and they were all having a good time. And they went, what the heck, where have we been, you know? So we left New Orleans and decided, well, let's go to Mexico City. So we went to Mexico City and looked up a friend of mine, of ours. It wasn't really a friend of mine, but a friend of a friend, and he was very wealthy Mexican, and he named Miguel Suarez. So he took us over to his sister's house. He was married to a doctor, let us stay there. And then he took us around Mexico City, all over the place, and he was about 19, very sophisticated. He educated in Spain, and then he decided, this was right after the war, so we had the only car, post-war car in Mexico, and his friend wanted to buy it, give us double what we paid for it. We said, all right. I asked Miguel, I said, how are we going to get out of here? He said, I'll fly you out in one of my planes. My dad's got 6 planes, I'll fly you to LA. I said, well, if you do that, that's all right. Then when we went to make the deal, the guy reneged on the double the market value and only wanted to give us about $400 profit. It wasn't worth it, so we went to LA, left Mexico City. No, we went down to Acapulco while we were there. It was a brand new resort, only 4 hotels there. We stayed in this one Mexican hotel on a cliff, beautiful. Room and board, $4 a day. And then we ran out of money, and the guy who owned the hotel, was from Switzerland, he let us stay there for nothing. And he introduced us to Alfonso, who had the fishing fleet. We went out deep sea fishing, caught 6 sailfish. We were having a time. Every morning he'd wake up and say, are you going back to Mexico City today? And I says, not today, we got a late start, we'll go tomorrow. So we stayed there about a week. Then we went back to Mexico City. Then left Mexico City and went to LA. We stayed in a rooming house. 2 other friends of ours had gone out earlier. It was like a rooming house, but it was really like a fraternity house, and all the USC students were staying there. And it was like a fraternity house. I didn't have a job, and I ran out of money. And old Charlie, who ran the place, kept saying, you get a job today? And I said, not today, Charlie. Finally, I got a job, and I paid him off when I owed, because I owed him maybe 2 or 3 weeks. We decided, no. Then I got a job at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel as assistant tennis pro. Really, I was picking up balls and fiddling around, not doing much, but it was a nice job, didn't pay much. But then we decided I better go home. So we took Jack Seiler's car, it was an Oldsmobile, and we traded it for a station wagon, a Woody station wagon, Ford Woody, and then we took the back seat out and left it at charge and started driving north. And then we got to Orange, California, Redwoods. We got a job in the lumber camp. We were choker setters. We had to put the cable around the tree, shinch it up, and then they dragged the tree down the side of the mountain. It was the hardest job I ever had. And so we worked there for about a week, and we had enough money, and then we took off for Seattle. And I got to Seattle, I looked up a friend I was in the Navy Air Corps with, and he said, you could stay with him. So he stayed with his mother and him in the apartment. And I said, let's stay in Alaska. So Sunday we got there. Monday we looked for a boat. Tuesday we found the boat. Wednesday we sold the car, bought the boat, painted it up, and took off for Alaska. What a trip. And we made it all the way to Alaska. Something happened every day. I go on forever, but what happened every day. But beautiful trip, spectacular, really. So then we finally made Ketchikan, and then we went on the radio. We broadcast over the radio to everybody, and then we got a job digging a sewer for this guy's house because we were broke. When we got the Ketchikan, we had 65 cents. That's all we had. So first night there, we washed some dishes. Every dish in the pots and pans in this restaurant. And he gave us a dinner. Then on the way back to the boat, I found 2 cases of food in the street. We took them back to the boat, but one was a case of ole, the other was a case of clams. So we took it back to the Piggly Wiggly market and told her a story, and she gave us a big steak and all that stuff for a great big dinner. So we cooked that. Then we got this job. I dug in the store, I made $25, which is a lot of money in 1948. And he said, you want to know if I want to help him pour cement? So I said, yeah, we'll pour cement. He said, can I bring my friend? He said, bring your friend. So I brought Johnson along, and we poured cement for 2 days in his driveway and his basement and everything else. Each made another 25, that's $75 we made. So that was plenty. So then he took us fishing. He had an 85-foot yacht that he bought from the government. So, after the war, and we went fishing. We got 200 cutthroat trout in one day. What a fishing. We had to hike up over this mountain. Forestry Service had dropped a boat in there by airplane because you couldn't get up there any other way. And we took the motor and carried it on our back to get up there and put it on the boat and walk the head of this lake. That's so spectacular fishing. Then we decided to come home. So we were in Alaska maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then we start back. We pull into Prince Rupert, British Columbia. And so as soon as we hit the dock, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police were there. And they wanted us, are you Bob Spelder? And you Jack Seiler? Are you Bob Johnson? I said, well, yeah, what's going on? Well, Jack's father had a heart attack and they were going to fly him home. So that left the 2 of us to bring the boat back from Prince Rupert, which is the northernmost town in British Columbia. And Jack flew out there with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So we kept plugging away and plugging away. We had one thing happen after another, but we finally made it back. And so we used to have arguments, and then we wouldn't talk for 2 or 3 days. And then we wouldn't say anything to each other. You ran out of conversation after 3.5 months on that boat. So then we went back to sea. I left the boat at consignment, and I hitchhiked. I had $4, hitchhiked all the way to LA. This friend of mine was getting married, and that was quite a story in itself. Lisa knows all about it, and so does Robert. It just goes on, Robert. Anyway, I hitchhiked back. I made it all the way back. I still had money left over. Went back to Charlie's. Got a couple of guys who were medical students at USC bought a gas station, or parents did, and they wanted me to work for them, so I did. Now this is almost 10 months after I left for 2 weeks, and I was going to go for 2 weeks. My mother decided I better come back and go back to college. So I did, and I left on a bus. Came back 3 days and 3 nights on the bus. What a trip. Got back, went back to Wayne University at night. Then my brother and I decided to go to Michigan. He went to Michigan for 2 years. Then we decided to go to Michigan State, so we both went up to Michigan State. And we took geology as a major, because I liked geology. And I was there from 1950, 51, and 52. Then I got a job offer that I liked, so I didn't want to be a geologist anyway, I guess. So I just left college before I graduated and went to work for Bob Roy at advertising. I was there for 22 years, and I was made senior vice president finally, but then they retired me early. So I was just laying around, and they gave me my pension, so I decided my son Mark wanted me to go with the Jacobs in there, so I went to work at Jacobs and selling shoes. Something to do. I made a lot of money, not bad, and then worked there for 8 years and finally retired. In 1998, my son Robert talked me into going back to school because he said we screwed up the 4th generation bit by not graduating. He didn't come to Michigan State. I had to graduate from Michigan because my grandfather was a doctor, my father was a doctor, and Robert and Mark both graduated from Michigan. So I'm right now I'm a senior, and I plan to graduate this coming April, in a month from now. So I might be the oldest student graduating this term. I think I will be. I'm 76. So that's part of my life story. Don't forget to ask Robert and Mark about your ancestry. I'm the 10th direct descendant of Governor Bradford, so that would make you both the 12th. Also, my great-grandfather was artist laureate of Canada. He painted a picture for the Canadian government, and they presented it to the King of England as a representation of Canadian art. So that's he's got a lot of paintings. He sold one of his paintings. Oscar Wilde bought. I've got 6 of his paintings, which you will all inherit when we're all gone, and you have to divide them up. But what else would you like to know? He wants, I mean, embellishing all these, you know, the Navy had a lot of stories, the sail to Alaska had a lot of stories that we could tell. And I bought a big sailboat. I had that for 18 years, a 40-foot catch. You know, I was going to sail around the world. But I just waited too long, got too old, and never decided not to do it. But, I sold that about 4 years ago, so it was a good investment because I got all the money and didn't pay any taxes on it. So, let's see, what else did I tell you to?
Well, now let's do it with some questions.
Oh, questions?
I'm just going to start from the beginning again. So, where were you born?
1927, March 3rd.
And what's the date?
March 3rd.
See, you guys, he can't hear very well. I asked where was he born?
Oh, Grace Hospital.
So hopefully that's the last time we miscommunicate. Where's Grace Hospital?
It's in Detroit. My dad was on the staff there as a doctor and a surgeon. That's why I was born there.
What kind of
he helped deliver me.
What kind of a doctor was he?
He's an industrial surgeon.
And what did your mom do?
She was an RN, a registered nurse. That's how they met.
And where did your dad grow up?
He grew up in Zeeland, Michigan. That's just 4 miles from Holland, Michigan.
And what's so significant about Holland, Michigan?
It's Dutch. That's what's significant about it. My family came over from Holland in 1847 from Holland, and all the Dutch people went to that area, Grand Rapids, and Holland and Zeeland, and that's where they went.
Are there still Dutch people there in Holland, Michigan?
Oh yeah, a lot of Dutch people in that area. They stayed right there. Nice place to live.
And where is Holland, Michigan?
Oh, it's about 210 miles west-northwest of Detroit.
Is it on the? It's on the
Lake
west coast.
Yes, on the west coast, Lake Michigan.
And do you go up there very often?
I try to go at tulip time. I like to go at tulip time. I go up there. We go camping up in northern Michigan. I got a trailer, a 24-foot house trailer, real nice trailer, and a Tahoe Portland. But
you ever take your family up there?
Yes, I take my family up there.
When they were younger? Did you ever take your family to the Tulip Festival when you were younger?
Yes, I did. I take them there all the time. I've been there maybe 5 times to the Tulip Festival with the family. Robert, he came up with Nurier one time. So, yeah, I like Holland. It's a nice place, nice people, and a nice place to go. The Tulip Festival, they dance in the street, and they wear these wooden shoes. It's quite a festival. It had it since 1925, I believe. We went up there. I went up there when I was a little kid with my father-in-law in the 1930s. And it hasn't changed much. But, you know, they clean sweep the streets, and they have parades. All 2 or 3 hour parade with bands and different displays and floats and everything. It's a nice parade. They actually tulips. They plant tulips, and they never know if they're early or late. But the last couple of years they had bloomed early, so we missed the full bloom of all the tulips. But there's still some left. Yeah. Later in the summer we always go. We've gone the last 3 years. We've gone to Petoskey, Michigan, which is beautiful, right on the west arm of Tawas Bay. Beautiful. In the woods, you camp in the woods. Brad's been up there. I know you've been up there, Brad. Too bad that Logan can't make it up there. Maybe he will. I would talk to your father to take you back to Michigan. Nice state.
So was there any other towns you used to visit as a kid up there?
Oh. No? Not really. I go up, well, my mother and father are buried there in Holland Cemetery. And that's where I'll be buried, in Holland, Michigan. We got 10 plots up there.
Have you ever been to Grand Haven?
We used to go to Grand Haven every summer when I was in high school. I had a car. I got my car when I was 16, no, 14. I had a car when I was 14. And we'd drive up, Dick and I would drive up there every summer and stay. One time we would run a trailer on the oval there for $4 a day. $4 a week, pardon me. And then another time we rented a cottage. And Dick and Joan and his 2 kids and our kids all went up and run this cottage right on above the oval there in Grand Haven. I like Grand Haven. It's pretty, right on Lake Michigan.
Don't we have a street named after our family?
Yes, we do have a street named Spelder Street. In fact, when Mark was little, his playmate of his lived down the street, and she lived in Grand Haven, and she looked at the name Despelder, and she asked Mark if there was anything, if he were related. He said, that's named after our family. And she happened to live on Despelder Street. So it was interesting.
Oh, do you ever go up to Mackinac?
Mackinac, I used to sell my boat to Mackinac. Not every summer, but maybe 6 times I went up there. We had
When's the first time you went to Mackinac?
First time I went to Mackinac, without the boat?
In your life?
Oh, when I was little.
Who used to take you?
10 or 11, my dad took us up to Mackinac, and Mackinac Island. It's beautiful up there, and no cars, just horse-drawn carriages and bicycles and stuff like that. And these old restored houses and hotels. It's really nice. And it's a beautiful setting. You can see the Mackinac Bridge from there. They got the largest hotel front porch in the world, or called the Grand Hotel. It's got the longest porch in the world. It's up on a high bluff. Like you can see way down Lake Michigan and down Lake Huron from that bluff. Mackinac is beautiful. When I had a 28-foot boat. We sailed that up there a couple of times. Then I sold that, and then I bought a 40-foot ketch, all teak boat, spectacular.
What's a ketch?
A ketch has got 2 masts. The aftermast is lower than the forward mast and is forward of the steering post. That makes it a ketch. And all teak boat, one of the prettiest boats on the lakes. Spectacular boat. We used to sell it to Mackinac. And
don't they have races to Mackinac?
yeah, I raced in 7 races. Not on that boat, but I raced on 7 different boats. Not 7 different boats, but 7 times. We got a 3rd one year. That was the best we did, but you can ask Bill about that.
How long are those races?
They're 300 miles. Takes a day and a half, 2 days, depending on the wind, obviously. If the wind blows, you get up there. If it doesn't blow, you can sit there. But that's an experience.
Isn't it true there's two races, one from Port Huron to Mackinac, and then another one from Chicago to Mackinac?
Yes, they alternate every year. One year the race starts in Port Huron and it goes to Mackinac. And then they sail around and start in Chicago and sail up. Then the next year they start in Chicago and sail around and they stop at Mackinac, that's the race, and then they sail back down to Mackinac, to Port Huron, and start from there the second half of the race.
What are the smallest boats in the race?
The smallest boats, I think, are 30 feet. There might be, I think there's a 28-footer in the races.
What are the biggest ones lately?
Oh, well, they got some big 70-footers. I don't know who, I haven't been following. There's an 83-footer, belongs to Dutch Schmidt, called Sassy. Then they got some high, real racing boats, 70 feet long, in the war. And they get up there and nothing flat, you know. They go right through the waves, nothing stops them. They get up there. The record was held by a 72-foot boat, less than 24 hours. But with these big new racing boats, even sailing the long course, I think they beat that time, but I'm not sure.
And then they have a big party up there, right?
Yes, they have a party on Tuesday. Most people come in on Monday, Sunday night, Monday, and usually in by Monday.
And what about the people that don't race? What day do they get up there?
Or sometimes they get up there on Wednesday and they miss the party.
Or do they get up there on Saturday night and start partying?
Saturday night.
Yeah, the people that drop the people off for racing.
Who you talking about?
The family of the racers.
Oh, if they don't get up there, they stay there. Yeah, on the island. Yeah.
Yeah, they get up there
come in.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Start
well, they
partying.
usually get in by Wednesday. I mean, even though the wind dies down, you just got to pick up sometime. They can get in by Wednesday. I don't know if the latest boat ever came in. I know it was Wednesday. Could have been Thursday for all I know.
Well, when I used to go out, when I didn't race, I would get up there on Saturday and party Saturday night, Sunday night. Monday, the first boats would come in and we'd still party.
What do you mean, what boat was that? You drove?
Yeah, we drove. We were on the I-75.
I-75, yes.
That's right. You remember going up there when we were little and we'd ride bikes?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. Well, you rode a bike the back and all with Ed Stroh. No?
Kurt Yeager.
Kurt Yeager, no, I thought it was Stroh. It was Stroh.
It was Kurt Yeager.
Oh yeah, it was Kurt Yeager the first time I went up because you stayed at that grocery store. The guy at Dowd Grocery, he knew some kind of, he's a relation of Dowd. Yeah, every time I go there, I always stop by and see Dowd, and I see my fraternity brother who owns a bunch of shops and restaurants and things on the island. I see him. And that's, I don't stay there that long anymore because I rode around the island so many times and done so many things. I just stay there a day or two, and that's all I want to stay.
How big is the island?
Well, 7 miles around.
How long does it take to ride?
Oh, an hour and a half. The most 2 hours. Because you stop along the way.
What kind of things are there to see on the ride?
What do you see?
What can you stop and see?
Well, there's a natural cave, called Skull Cave. There's an arch that's been weathered, and you know there was it's an arch that goes. I used to go out there when I was little and walk across this arch, but they won't let you. It's too dangerous now. It's all blocked up. You can't walk on that arch anymore. It's way up in the air. It's on a high bluff. And let's see. There's a forts. There's old cemeteries. There's Fort Mackinac, and you can see that from the yacht harbor. And somebody told me that supposedly that a relative of ours in the Civil War, Peter Despelder, and they saw I think it carried matches or somebody, not a lighter, but somebody carried to keep your matches right. It was in the display at this fort. I've never seen it, never thought about it. I know Peter Despelder fought the Battle of Gettysburg. He was in that battle.
Did your dad have any brothers?
He had 2 brothers. Well, he had 1 brother and 1 cousin that lived with him. My grandmother raised Leonard because his mother died.
Who's Leonard?
Well, the other brother.
Who's Leonard?
Was Alonzo.
Who's Leonard?
Leonard was a doctor.
Who was he?
He was Peter Despelder's son.
So he was the cousin?
He was a cousin. I just called him uncle because he raised from a little boy, well, my grandmother. So they just treated him like a brother.
And who was your father's brother?
Alonzo. He graduated from Michigan too.
How did that happen?
What do you mean?
How did your father and your brother graduate from Michigan?
Well, when my grandfather was a doctor, he graduated from Ann Arbor in 1882. And he died at a young age, so my grandmother sold a house in Drent, Michigan, and bought a house in Ann Arbor, and took the 3 boys down to Ann Arbor, and they all went to school at Michigan. Alonzo was a CPA, my dad was a doctor, and Leonard was a dentist. So they all went to school there together, lived in this house that my grandmother bought. Then they all moved to Detroit. It was during the Depression. Things were not good then, you know, everybody out of work.
And where did your mother come from?
She came from Richmond, Indiana, and she went to nursing school. Grace Hospital had a nursing school in Detroit, and that's where my dad was a doctor, and that's how they met. She graduated from the nursing school, the Grace Hospital Nursing School. She's one of the original graduates. She belonged to some nursing society. Original, they were there at the beginning. At the beginning the thing first opened up. She was a scrub nurse. You don't like your grandmother. My mother, she was a very, very nice person. Everybody liked her.
What was your mother's full maiden name?
Hill.
What was her first name?
Alice.
What was her middle name?
Louise.
So what's her whole name?
Alice Louise Despelder.
Her maiden name?
Was Hill. I mean, Alice Louise Hill.
Yeah. What was your dad's full name?
Ray Emerson Despelder. Not Raymond, Ray.
And what about his brother Alonzo?
Alonzo Benjamin.
Despelder?
Huh?
Despelder.
Despelder, yeah.
And what about Leonard?
I forget his middle name. It was Leonard Despelder. I don't think I ever knew his middle name.
And what were your grandparents' names? On your father's side first.
On my father's side, there was Elias Despelder. And he was married to a Marjorie Boonstra.
And on your mother's side, what were your grandparents' names?
Well, my grandmother was named Marjorie Hill, and her husband, my grandfather, was William C. Hill. They lived in Richmond. He had a couple companies, and then they moved to Spiceland, Indiana, where he died. And my grandmother moved up to Detroit with Louise.
What did your grandmother do?
She was a nurse too. She was in charge of something in a big Boston hospital, like a floor. She had a good job in Boston. In fact, that's how she met her husband. As a nurse, he was a patient at the hospital, I think. She took care of him.
Now, if you trace your father's family back to the Spelder family, when did they arrive in America?
They came here in 1847 from Holland with 3 sons. One went to Zeeland, one went to Grenville, and the other one went to Grand Haven. There were 3 boys.
Remember their names?
James went to Grand Haven, and Elias. It was Johannesson who went to Holland, to Zeeland, and I don't remember the other brother's name. He went to Grenville.
And if you trace your mom's family back, when did they arrive in America?
They arrived here in 1620 on board the Mayflower. I'm the 10th direct descendant of Governor Bradford, the 2nd governor of the colonies. So I got the paperwork and everything, you'll see. So that makes you 2 the 12th direct descendant of Governor Bradford. It's not just anybody on the Mayflower, he was in charge of the Mayflower, more or less. He wrote the Mayflower Compact. So everybody knows who he is. You go to Plymouth, Michigan, Plymouth, Massachusetts, and you have to tell them you're related to Governor Bradford, they know who he is. So, what else would you like to know?